Over the past few months, I'm sure you're seeing a lot of reports about these crazy radicals.
They just want to call me the radical.
Some called us invasive species, cockroaches that should be killed.
You've got groups like the Free State Project, which are trying to enact these radical changes.
These extremists.
These are extremist candidates.
They have a very extreme agenda.
Well, I have news for you. It's not half as dramatic as everyone wants to make you think.
Thank you, and I am so excited to be here with you all tonight. This is a great room, and we're all here because we care about our community, so give yourself a round of applause for being here and being present in this moment. Unfortunately, Maine and New Hampshire have both been experiencing a growth in hate-based activity and extremism. We know that a lot of people are concerned about what hate groups are showing up in our community, who they are, what they're doing. So we thought it would be helpful to go through just some of the groups that we know are active and what we know about them. Let's first talk about NSC 131, or the National Socialist Club. It is a neo-Nazi group. Patriot Front is also active around the region. It's a white supremacist group. Proud Boys. They are a right-wing extremist group with a violent agenda. The Free State Project. So this is an interesting group that we haven't always considered as part of the hate groups. It is a group that is trying to move 20,000 libertarians to New Hampshire to take over state government and dismantle it. The Free Staters are definitely an extremist group. They've got really fringe theories on how our country should operate, and they are organizing for things like secession.
And I am a member of the Free State Project, and Xandra is very disingenuous of you today, but if anybody would like to meet an actual member of this not hate group, and they'll meet me in person.
I was offended that she would even throw the Free State Project up on there, period.
Feel free to come find me at any point, and I'll give you my contact info if you want. You can come visit me at work. You can come to my community center. I don't care, but I'd love to meet more of you.
All right, thank you.
I just want you to move to New Hampshire and help us make New Hampshire smaller government. That's all we want. So the presentation is on hate crimes, as though the Free State Project has ever committed a hate crime. Like, it's not a part of our movement. It's not acceptable to us. It's truly absurd.
It is appropriate to talk about some of those extremist policies and behaviors in the context of what we're doing tonight. Their policies are actually harming community members. This is a recent story. New Hampshire churches condemn wokeness list, saying it could lead to violence. The Free State Project have put out a list of churches that they considered woke communities.
In late August, the Free State Project released a list of churches and congregations and explicitly pulled out congregations who are actively anti-racist. So, for example, denoted if they might display a Black Lives Matter sign, notations about LGBTQ plus equality practices, and also COVID-19 mitigation.
My understanding is when they mean woke, they mean praising the government during church service, enforcing masks, enforcing vaccines, and I think that's pretty important for people to choose what church they're going to. That seems like a positive form of discrimination, where you want to go be with the people that share the same values as you.
These lists encourage folks to potentially harass or target those communities. They also produced a list of synagogues that included, among other things, notations about how easy it would be to concealed carry a weapon. And in my experience, that is not something you're going to put on a list just to invite folks to come to your community.
It was concerning to faith leaders that these were churches that were going to be targeted and potentially harmed because they were standing up for all community members.
Some Free Staters say that you have the same agenda that they do, to move to this state. I'm sure you've heard this before.
Yeah,
move to this state and to advance your political agenda. What do you have to say to that?
Well, I always find it interesting when this comes up. You know, anybody can move to any state because, you know,
a family, they like the community, work. We bounced around and we moved back up to New Hampshire when we got married.
So you didn't move here for the Granite State progress?
No. There's a difference though between how some people end up in New Hampshire and how the Free State Project ends up there, which is a political group voted on a state to move 20,000 libertarians to, because people in other states and other parts of the country did not support that policy agenda, which is far different than how almost anybody else ends up in any state.
We come in peace. I feel like that's really important. We're getting colored and characterized in a certain way that I find deeply troubling.
A lot of these people moved here because they came from states, or they came from countries that weren't as free, and they probably went through, in some cases, some pretty traumatic issues. And they came here because they felt as if government was somehow had a hand in those traumatic issues.
My great-grandmother was put in a British concentration camp during the Boer War, where 25% of women and children were killed.
I was born and grew up in communist China, and I was the eyewitness of all the horrors. 20 million people died.
When I joined the Army, I believed that I was going to defend freedom and liberty. What I found out was that the system was corrupt. The war is a huge fraud.
What inspires me to work my butt off 24/7 for liberty is that I've felt tyranny punch me in the face.
Skepticism with big government comes from a long lineage of being harmed by the government.
I saw what happened to those people with my own eyes. It was very, very painful memories.
That's what gave them the proclivity to be more libertarian leaning, is a skepticism towards the government that they felt like didn't properly protect them, didn't properly address their needs, and that actually did the exact opposite, created the problems that they had to deal with and some of that trauma. And they came here because they want to be more free.
I was so oppressed. I never heard about individual liberty and rights before. So I thought, if I have to leave China someday, this is a cool country to come to.
I left my military career with high honors, but none of these things and no money was worth me selling my moral beliefs and my moral values.
I felt Cuomo, de Blasio, Biden, Trump, Clinton, Obama. I felt the weight of tyranny. So I'm motivated to fight back against it.
And I think it's really important for people to talk, to have dialogue, to stop with the name calling, and to understand we're here to fix the problems they created.
So what's new to me is just the amount that Free Staters are being mentioned now. I mean, outside of Croydon, with the ski resort thing where it's like, oh, Free Staters.
But they're labeling us.
Right, it's the use of the label, which could suggest that people are actually somewhat scared.
I got my feathers up last November when a situation threatened the very existence of Gunstock as we know it.
Gunstock, as most of you know, is a state-owned ski resort. Should the government be in the business of running a ski resort?
I've been a user of Gunstock since 1965. The profits were through the roof. Gunstock has been a successful operation.
Extremist candidates created all of this chaos by packing in people that were loyalists to them.
They've been tagged as libertarians, some of them Free Staters, whose agenda was to take control of Gunstock away from the county and privatize it. They started putting the Gunstock management team under attack. We want budget approval, we need to investigate how you spend your money, and their goal was to minimize county services all the way around. If they do this, Gunstock as we know it will be gone forever.
I don't think it's fair to blame the Free Staters. There are 12 people on the commission. Only 2 of them are known Free Staters.
Behind them is reduced government, reduced budgets, reduced services. So to that degree, it ties in very closely. And eventually, some members of the delegation came together, were able to turn the tide by removing the commission members. The community rose up. Gunstock is back on the straight and narrow, and it was a wake-up call for a lot of people.
The way it's been reported in the media thus far is suddenly, oh, these evil Free Staters are trying to privatize a state-run ski resort. I don't think that would be the worst thing, but it is really up to the citizens and the Granite Staters of Belknap County to make these decisions.
Up here, I think people are just waking up to it, and Gunstock was the catalyst. In some places in New Hampshire, like in Keene, it's been a part of daily life.
I'm Ian Freeman. I was kind of a born libertarian. I'd never liked being told what to do.
Have a seat.
Are you making an offer?
Have a seat.
I'll be doing that under duress.
Take him into custody.
Yes, sir. I'm a civil disobedience activist. Civil disobedience is where you announce in advance that you're going to break some stupid law, like possession of cannabis.
All right. Anybody got a license?
I do.
What I was going to do is just start showing up here and smoking every day at 4:20 in the afternoon, see how long it took them to notice me.
It's not violent. It's just to make a statement against some existing system or law or whatever that you want to see go away.
A cop walked by and I blew some smoke over there. They kind of, yep, that's weed. And at that point he decided it was time to arrest me.
Everybody circle around him. I got you, man. Leave him alone.
Keene, New Hampshire had the Robin Hood libertarians who were following the meter people around Keene.
As you can see, we have encountered a parking enforcer. So I want to make sure we got some meters that are filled up here.
And putting in quarters so people wouldn't get tyranny from the local government. I'm not making that up.
Go back to your truck and drive away.
I'm doing my job.
Okay. I think I've been arrested like 10 or 12 times.
Hey everybody, I'm still in jail.
And most of it is completely peaceful civil disobedience, mostly in the Keene area.
You're under arrest. There you go. Take that and record it.
And sometimes you win, sometimes you get convicted.
When we do civil disobedience, people are upset about that. But then when we follow the process that is in place, or run for office, or get elected, or try and make changes and reforms, we get criticized for that as well. I think there's this push to try and make Free Staters scapegoats for anything that's going wrong or for anything that makes the establishment look bad.
The reality is that most Americans don't like the policies that the Free State Project is pushing.
Democrats and progressives will say that they're very concerned about this like influx of Free Staters that are trying to destroy the government from the inside out.
It's why they had to move to have enough people with their views to force the changes that they want onto the rest of us.
Maybe I might disagree with them when they're doing things like introduce secession so blatantly and so boldly, or a Democrat might disagree with them, but you can still work with them on different things.
Do you have anything nice to say about these people?
I will say this about Free Staters. They're organized and they're committed, and respect that even when you disagree, but their end goal is really dangerous.
There are Free Staters, I think, in like every community in New Hampshire.
Grafton was one of the early places where the Freetown Project was one of the early experiments.
As a sort of precursor to the Free State Project.
I wanted to live in an area where I would be free.